Right. Hello, everybody. And hi, Colleen.
Hello.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, everybody.
We're glad to be here. We are just saying it's a beautiful morning here outside of Portland, Oregon, or in Oregon. Danny's a little further south than us. So we're glad to be here. I did want to say, because I've talked about it the last couple weeks, the registration for the in-person animal Reiki is finally up. Yay.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, yeah, we'll
Yay.
be continuing to send out more information about it. And it is in a little bit of a different place than just our animal Reiki classes. So it is on Reiki Lifestyle. It's under our classes page or our classes tab. And then you're going to go to in-person destination classes and you will find it there. So it's at the end of July. We're teaching Animal Reiki 1 and 2 and Animal Reiki Master here outside of Portland, Oregon, at the base of Mount Hood. And we're teaching it in the forest. I already talked about it, so I don't need to keep going on it. But I
Don't get you started.
yeah, but I just wanted to let you know that it's up and you're able to register now for both classes. More information about all of the things and prerequisites and all of those. It's all that part is all normal, but it's all on that page. So remember, it's under the destination classes page on ReikiLifestyle.com. So we're really excited that I finally was able to get that done. So anyway, very excited. And then, of course, everything else is also, we've got lots of classes all the time. Colleen's teaching in New York in May, Animal Reiki. She's teaching in October in Japan, Master and Karuna Reiki on Mount Karama, and more. But you can find that all at ReikiLifestyle.com. And we will put the link to the destination classes, to the Animal Reiki class in the description. So it's just really easy to click on. Danny, would you mind just making a note of that so I remember to put it in the description? All right, thanks. All right, so we have been talking this whole month about how Reiki is such an amazing energy and modality for this moment. And this moment meaning just this current time in human history, whether it's this year, whether it's the last 5 years, whether it's the upcoming 5 years. And so much of the reason for that, we've been talking about how it's healing, how it helps with your spirituality, um, whether you are Reiki curious or whether you are an experienced Reiki master teacher. It's always good to just go in and listen to the Reiki energy more than anything about how it is a benefit for you, how it really helps us in this time. We are in a large transition time, um, to say the least, in I think our even maybe our human evolution. And with, moving into the age of Aquarius, Pluto moving into the age of Aquarius, all of these large outer planets moving into different signs, which are long cycles, 20-year cycles. It really shifts the energy. And as we know, we've had a lot of changes in a short amount of time in over the last 5 years, for a variety of different reasons. And we've, of course, talked a lot about that. And one of there's so many different reasons why Reiki is such an amazing energy for this moment. I think one of the biggest reasons is the ease of Reiki energy, the fact that we can receive Reiki energy and then we can do Reiki energy within a relatively short amount of time. I know that varies based on lineage, whether it's, 1 or 2 days, whether it's a little bit longer for other lineages that have it in a longer span of time. But it is a relatively short period of time that you can receive it and then give it to yourself and also contribute it to other people and society in general, as many of us use it for as an energy for helping to regulate our own selves and our energy systems and our nervous systems and our spirituality. We use it for healing for ourselves. And then we also really appreciate it to be able to use it in a way that contributes. And so many of us are really needing that right now, where we need ways, and over the last, um, cycle that we've been in, that we need it to help us to also help contribute. How do we navigate these times on a personal level? That's first and foremost. How do we navigate this in a way that we can give back to others, whether that's through Reiki energy or using Reiki energy in the ways that we give back? If you do other things, in different ways. Also, if we are using it in, uh, you know, community as well, because that's a really big piece of what is needed right now is community. As our landscape is changing to a greater degree, our landscape becoming more digital, and how do we continue to be in community in that? How do we also find community in our in person lives as well? For some of us, um, that isn't even possible, dependent on where we live or our circumstances. And being able to connect digitally into a community is really helpful. And we just had a podcast released with Yolanda Williams, that released yesterday. Today's Tuesday. We're recording this on a Tuesday morning. And one of the things, it's actually the clip that we pulled out of it and put onto our social. One of the things that she said, that was so beautiful, is that one of the great things about Reiki energy is that it comes with a built in global community. This community is really an amazing piece of this modality, and that you can connect in all different ways, whether it's in a situation like this, whether it's in a Reiki share near you, whether it's receiving a Reiki session from somebody, that it allows you, that the community itself is really, such a beautiful piece of Reiki, and being a part of a Reiki community. And that is a huge healing aspect when, even though digitally we can connect so much, for some of us, that also can feel isolating. And so that is, that's a really beautiful piece of it. It's like you can just find your local Reiki share, and go and give and receive with other people, and it's a really generally positive aspect to it, and it's generally a really positive and welcoming community, also. So, we've been talking about all of these different aspects with it. Um, and what we are, I've kind of already started with it. What we are doing today is really talking about it, how it benefits you personally. Because when it comes to Reiki, and when it comes to healing, and when it comes to using this modality, sometimes, I mean, the most important thing is that we get to use it for ourselves, that we are really, when it comes down to it, only responsible for our own healing and our own empowerment, because sometimes that's all we can do. And um and that's huge. If that's all we ever do, that's huge. And that creates a really big ripple effect in our world, because changes who we are. It can affect our family lives, and being cycle breakers in our families and our friends, and even when we're out at the store, and maybe even our reactivity. Um, and so that is a beautiful thing as well. And some people are drawn to Reiki because of that. Other people can be drawn to Reiki because they do have a calling to somehow give it to other people. So, whether that is giving it to family and friends, which I would say is the most common reason that people take Reiki is they just want to have it for themselves and those around them, and they think it is going to help in some way, shape, or form. Some people are called to take Reiki because they want to volunteer with it in some way, shape, or form. I know Danny's told her story about how she started with Reiki and wanting to be able to volunteer in cancer centers. And then other people have had a lot of Reiki sessions and they are wanting to be able to somehow do that for themselves. Maybe even become professional Reiki practitioner. And so they want to be Reiki attuned because whether or not that's right away or if they can see it in their path down the road, that they want to become a professional Reiki practitioner. However, it all starts with us. And one of the biggest things that Reiki does for us, as I said before, is it helps to regulate us in all a variety of ways. And I think that that is a really huge piece of what we need right now. We have this big transition time of, and we all know what it is of, but one of the biggest things about those time frames is that they feel so unstable. And when that feels unstable, we feel that, even if it is our lives aren't affected super directly, there's still that energy around us that can create that feeling within us. There can be a heightened level of stress. Um, things, I mean, we know at least in this country that things have gotten a lot more expensive over the last 5 years. And that also can create a level of maybe even having to work more or just stress about work, stress about money. I mean, that's just a small example of our current environment. There's a lot going on, and over the last 5 years, a lot of things with health and health related things that are happening. There's, of course, we have talked about so much, all of the chronic division that we are seeing and experiencing online, maybe even within our own families. And while that has always been a part of our environment, I think the aspect of having online is, exacerbates it all. So, again, even if our own lives aren't super affected by these things, it still creates that empathic stress. And then if our lives are affected by, the different things that are happening, um, that can just again create that stress, can create that cortisol, can create that um sympathetic nervous system becoming more and more active. And one of the biggest things about Reiki that we commonly describe it as is a Japanese stress reduction technique. I would say that's kind of the basic elevator pitch for Reiki. Because also we know that that has been studied, that we have research around stress reduction, pain reduction, um, recovery from injury, things like that. That's so much of where we have actual measured research around. So we know that that is true from that, but many of us don't even need those studies to know because of our own experience. We have had that that Reiki does help with our stress levels. And so it helps with that calmness. It helps with that feeling of groundedness. And even if it's when we are receiving a Reiki session or when we are doing self Reiki, if you're attuned, um, that matters. And that happens. And as we create that environment for ourselves more and more, where we give time to those times where Reiki can help us to reduce that stress level, to help fill us up with that life force and that vitality, as we create more opportunities for that, that ripples out into the rest of our lives. Because if we can come from a Reiki session and feel more grounded, feel more stable, feel more calm, more peaceful, you go into your environment and that helps you with that. I can't tell you the amount of sessions right now that I'm doing where it's just, I just need to help activate that parasympathetic nervous system and I need to be filled up right now. And that is really such an important piece that, we may not even like know what to do or where to go and how to do that. All of us have different ways that we might reduce our stress. And um and it is that is also like a vitally important piece in our even in our society. And I have clients where the people that they're supporting a lot of people in different ways. They're supporting and so they're feeling the empathic stress. And so if they can be filled up with life force and vitality, that helps them to be a more grounded and stable force in their own environment in all of the different ways, whether it's for their clients or, coworkers or their families. And then again, as I've said, for themselves too, because we can't fix everything. That's another thing that we can get a little bogged down with is this piece that we do wish that we could fix things, of course, but we can't fix everything. And so sometimes that responsibility, again, also creates that level of stress. And so if we can fill up with that life force and vitality and that feeling of groundedness, um, that changes the environment around us. And that's huge because if you can be kind to somebody because you're feeling grounded and stable and having that parasympathetic nervous system creating peace within your body, that vagus nerve relax, which is creating peace within your body. You can be kinder at the grocery store to to a stranger. And sometimes that can change somebody's entire day, which changes their entire week. You can send Reiki to the world peace grids, like if you're Reiki attuned, that matters. You can send Reiki to places. Those things do matter. And that does create a ripple effect and how we can, enact change slowly within ourselves over time. Sometimes it's more of a rocket ship that happens too, but also in our environment over time because those frequencies do matter. And what is amazing about Reiki is that it is one of those energies that you can just receive. Because sometimes, like, how to do that can feel like, okay, how do I accomplish this right now? I don't feel like I can do this myself. Meditation practices, of course, all of these extra practices that we have, exercise, diet, things like that all help, of course. And then sometimes it feels like I don't know where to go. Maybe I even do all of those things and I'm still feeling this maybe overwhelming idea of, or this overwhelming stress or burnout. But Reiki, you receive, and you can receive it from another person. And that's huge. Even if you're attuned to Reiki, we all need Reiki sessions. Um, when we feel like maybe we can't just get there fully on our own, like the self Reiki sessions help slowly on a day to day basis and they help us to continue to fill up. But sometimes we do need like that outside support, that outside help. And it's something that you just receive. And it does make a difference within one session. You can feel a difference in your body. We talk about that Reiki gap where we fall asleep, but we're not really asleep, but we're in this deep level of relaxation. Even if during the Reiki session, we might have still that mind chatter, which can be hard to turn off, especially right now. We still are going to feel better coming out of the Reiki session than when we went into the Reiki session. And the more that you receive from Reiki, because yes, you might receive it from a practitioner, but really it's the Reiki, where the practitioner is just the vessel for the Reiki energy. And holding space, facilitating and holding space for this process to happen for you, and really when it comes down to it, by you. You're the one doing the work even when you are just saying yes to receiving. It's helping to relax your muscles, it's helping you to support your natural healing. That's another thing, or solutions for healing. Sometimes it's gonna help create space for you to have that emotional release, which sometimes we really need. And we maybe can't get there on our own. And the emotional releases are really important. What it's doing is it's helping you to make space for new, right? For you to fill up with new. It's when you're releasing it, it is helping to create space for you to fill up with those different levels of vibration and frequencies. And Reiki is pure love. So, also love. I know many of us are experiencing trouble sleeping. So, this is another place where Reiki can really help. I know so many of us will use like a Reiki meditation before bed, as it does help to calm the mind and body before rest. I will say with this one, this can be a practice and it's not perfect. I am definitely an overthinker. So this is one of those places where I can use Reiki and also know that I am not perfect at that. We hear all the time how many people will turn on a meditation. Like we hear that all the time, feedback about our own things, that they'll turn on one of our meditations or other meditations, Reiki meditations that help them to fall back asleep when they wake up in the middle of the night. The All of the symbols are really helpful for this, but one of the symbols that is um, really helpful is the mental emotional symbol, and asking for that symbol to help you calm your mind to just quiet down a little bit, do some breathing, invite Reiki, or if you're not Reiki attuned, ask your practitioner to help you with this, and ask for help with sleep. Also, what it can do in those places, it's like, okay, well, maybe Reiki isn't directly creating like cause and effect, right? Okay, I can turn on self Reiki and all of a sudden I'm sleeping perfectly and beautifully and I'm having no problem sleeping. But Reiki does over time is helps with that movement towards wellness. So sometimes that is just calming the nervous system enough, calming your body enough that it's bringing you to a place where you can then have better sleep because your body is calm enough. But also sometimes it's about finding the right solutions. So are there supplements that you can take, like a magnesium? And this isn't any sort of advice or anything, but it can help you to find those solutions for yourself, that or through any sort of practitioners that can solve those problems, because that is a part of how the wellness works through Reiki. Is that, people talk about their journey of how when they get into these modalities, maybe they've even become more sensitive, or in these communities, you have a lot of health and wellness minded people that are continually trying to find solutions, or have solutions, or be really knowledgeable about these things. And maybe something that someone mentions, that they're also a naturopath or something like that, or that it's a solution that's really worked for them. It's like, oh, that is like resonating in a way. And so you find that that kind of solution is helpful for you as well. Also, during this time, we have all of those physical aspects and the mental, emotional aspects that help with that anxiety, that that thinking mind that can be overactive, that veers into the place that's not necessarily for our highest good. And I love my thinking mind, and I am constantly thinking, but then those times where it tips over into the less healthy overthinking side of that spectrum. And I'll tell you, this process in, really spending so much time in the Reiki energy as I've in the last 10 years and as a professional, you really spend so much time in it. That has been really a big switch too, is the level of overthinking um, that has shifted for me, and so it does help on those on that mental emotional side as well. Also the releases, but then also the joy, being able to see the hope and the beauty and the love in the world, understanding my own responsibility with that, of holding those frequencies as much as possible. Um, Having Reiki help me on those emotional sides because I've been through a pretty rough cycle, but that's changing. And then also trying to offer as much love, and Reiki helps me to do that. I can bring it in before I go into the grocery store, and instead of, being in whatever we all know that mood that we can be in the grocery store, am I able to hold the frequencies of kindness and seeing the beauty in people, and that's where it can switch that too. And to me, that is important. Can I be kind? Can I be stable? Can I see the beauty in my fellow humans in the grocery store, and hold those frequencies of joy and beauty when I can? Also fun sometimes, can I hold those frequencies and see that in the world, see that in my fellow humans. And so there's both sides to that spectrum that Reiki really helps us with. And then the other aspect is that it helps with the spiritual parts of us as well. So, we are really so confronted with the duality of living here on this planet, because we can feel the ways that I just described, and then yet you see the duality, and we see so much of it now, and so much more than we ever have. And it's not to say that humans haven't experienced more duality. I mean, there has been really big times in human history that's a very real part of human history. Just even off the top of my head, thinking about like World War II, right? There's other really challenging times in humanity, and then also we see so much of it through this global connection and this global communication. And so that aspect of that reconciliation of the duality, that's very real, I think, for all of us. And that can be really challenging. Um, and it can really affect our empathy. Certain things affect our empathy more than others. And so how do you how do you balance that? How do you explore that? Your own even belief systems around that. To me, that is a spiritual aspect of being a human being, of the duality of the planet, and living in a dual nature um existence, and in this plane of existence dimension, however you think about that. So that's a place that it can help you to go in and explore the nature of some of those bigger kind of philosophical questions, existence, those existential questions that many of us have with it. Also, on a personal level, it can help. I mean, it's huge for awakening our intuition and our mental clarity. So many of us are even called to it in a way that we aren't necessarily sure of why in the first place. But really, what that is doing is that's your path unfolding, your intuition calling you, your future self calling you. And there's people that describe intuition as your future self talking to you. And I think that that's beautiful, especially like with the distance symbol, if you think it's of it through time and space, um, how much that can help open up your intuition. And also remembering that wholeness within it, that can be a place that can be challenging for us. It and that remembering, like Colleen says, and I forget where she quotes this from, but the or maybe this was what Spirit showed you, Colleen. I don't remember exactly. Anyways, the planet of the great forgetting, and that Reiki helps you to remember that pure love, that God spark that's within, that pure love that's within, that connection to all things, that key. We all have key, and the planet and the trees and the animals and the plants, and remembering that interconnectedness, um, and that belonging here, because that can be a really big disconnect for many of us, is that feeling of belonging here on the planet, and that interconnectedness or connection here on the planet. And that's another place that Reiki really helps to uncover for ourselves, helps unveil, helps us to remember that within. And to me, I think of it as consciousness that's within. Everybody has their own belief system within. And also, I didn't start out with this belief system. It's through the work, through Reiki and through Reiki journey techniques, and exploring these larger questions to life of um that we are all just a part of consciousness, learning about itself, whether you think that's God or simulation, or even a biofield, that the Schumann resonance of all of us kind of pings off of each other, the Schumann resonance of the planet, the biofield of the planet, or the trees, and we are all pinging off of each other in different ways, and that connection, because we are just made of the earth, and we return to the earth, and energy and water recycled over time. There's that. We have these physical bodies that are a part of that, and DNA restructuring from the beginning of time. I mean, it's all kind of mind blowing, but the way that Reiki is one of those things that when we're in meditation or we have these aha moments outside of it, it's starting to awaken those questions within you, and questions that you may have not even known that you had. Um, and you may have had them, and it's a way that you can explore them, because it is enlightened energy. It's pure consciousness that flows through us and reconnects us to our own pure consciousness that is in us. I mean, key is in the name. That is life force energy that all things are made of. Or as Sui Sensei said, I am the universe is me. And so it helps us to remember that within ourselves. And however you think of that, what I love about Reiki and why it's so beautiful for this time is because it doesn't require any sort of belief system. It's not, well, it's spiritually guided. Yeah, that's in its name, or universally guided. It's another way to translate it. Um, you get to think of it however it however you connect into that. But it doesn't, I might have my own viewpoint, but I also have no attachment to the idea that somebody else has a different viewpoint of it. And I think that that's another piece of that, of Reiki energy, is because that's a part of it, that it doesn't require any sort of belief system, that we all get to have our own belief systems within it. It does also help us to return to our own truth, our own inner authority, whatever language gets us into that connection or that wholeness within, whatever tools it can help us to use for that as well. That is all a part of it. And it also is an energy to support us in another part of this transitional time of moving from the outside authority to the inner authority, as we are able to be in this place of how we view it our own inner truth and our own authentic self because it helps to release that culturally created self. And it brings us into our own authentic self, our own authentic truth. And all of that is through receiving. Like it will uncover and unveil things that we will take steps towards, but there's nothing that we need to do. Everybody is worthy of it. Everybody deserves it. That's the other thing that's beautiful about it. There's nothing that we need to do. We just need to say yes to receiving. And in these times that can feel so overwhelming. That's huge. And that's why I think it's such an important that's why I think it's meant so much for this time in human history because those things are a part of what we need right now to be able to not just move into it for ourselves, but also for humanity.